Imagine this. A young boy, just trying to enjoy a simple trip to the store, is falsely accused of theft by an overzealous security guard. But what the guard doesn't know is that this is no ordinary child. He's the son of a prominent senator, someone with influence and power. As the tension rises in the store, the guard mocks the boy, unaware of the dangerous line he's crossing. What happens next will leave you stunned. How will the boy's father react when he finds out about the public humiliation his son endured? Will the guard face any consequences for his actions? Stay tuned as this story unfolds, revealing a powerful lesson about assumptions, respect, and the consequences of judging others without knowing the full story. The boy, 12-year-old Jamal, had been browsing the aisles quietly, his hands carefully picking up snacks for the family. He wasn't causing any trouble. But as he passed the electronics section, the store guard's eyes narrowed. Without warning, the guard followed Jamal, assuming the worst. His footsteps were quick, heavy, and filled with judgment. Jamal felt the uncomfortable weight of the man's gaze, but continued to walk, trying to ignore the tension. Minutes later, the guard stopped him right by the exit, accusing him of trying to steal a small toy car. Jamal, shocked and scared, stammered in defense. "I didn't take anything," he protested. But the guard wasn't listening. The confrontation quickly escalated, drawing the attention of others in the store. Jamal felt humiliated, his heart racing. Little did anyone know, his father, Senator Thompson, was just a few miles away, completely unaware of what was unfolding. What would happen when the truth finally came to light? As the guard's voice grew louder, Jamal's pulse quickened. He felt the weight of everyone's eyes on him, the whispers beginning to circulate. He couldn't help but feel like the whole store was judging him based on nothing more than the color of his skin. The accusations continued, harsh and unrelenting. "You think you can just take something and walk out? You won't get away with it, boy," the guard sneered, his face twisted in anger. Jamal's hands were shaking, but he didn't know what to do. He was just a kid, and the guard was towering over him. Meanwhile, in the back of the store, a woman who had been quietly observing the scene took out her phone. She saw the injustice unfolding and began recording. But the guard noticed her too, and his glare shifted. "Mind your business," he shouted at her, his voice now laced with menace. The woman didn't flinch but kept recording, knowing that this could be crucial evidence. She had seen too many incidents like this one, unfair treatment based on assumptions and prejudice. Back at home, Senator Thompson was finishing up a meeting when his phone buzzed. It was a message from his wife, urgent and frantic. "You need to see this," she wrote, attaching a video clip. The video, still processing in his mind, showed his son being accused, humiliated, and threatened by a man who had no reason to believe the worst. His heart sank as he watched, but his first thought was about how quickly the situation could spiral. How could this happen to his son? What would it mean for him, as a public figure, to have such a story break out? While Jamal's world seemed to crumble, the guard's actions were becoming a powder keg. Tensions were rising, and Jamal had no idea that his father's influence would soon make this incident impossible to ignore. But as the boy stood there, on the verge of tears, the only thing on his mind was how powerless he felt in that moment. The guard wasn't backing down. And with each passing second, the store felt smaller, the walls closing in. The guard was getting more aggressive by the second, his voice echoing through the store as Jamal stood frozen, barely able to catch his breath. Customers were now gathered around, some whispering, others pulling out their phones. Jamal could feel their eyes, their judgments, like a suffocating weight. The humiliation burned deep within him. He wanted to run, to escape the mess he didn't create, but his legs wouldn't move. The woman recording the scene was now joined by a few others, murmuring their disbelief at the unfolding injustice. One of them even dared to step forward, trying to intervene. "You're being too harsh on him," she said, her voice steady. But the guard just snapped back, "Stay out of it." Meanwhile, Senator Thompson was already rushing out of his office, his heart racing. He had to get to his son. He dialed his wife's number, but there was no answer. Instead, the phone rang and rang, leaving him with an unsettling feeling of dread. His mind raced through the worst-case scenarios, trying to prepare for what he might face. But the video was all he had for now. Just a few seconds of his son being wrongfully accused, but it was enough to make his blood boil. Back at the store, the situation was about to reach its breaking point. Jamal was starting to lose hope, the pressure overwhelming him. The guard was closing in, his hands now gripping the boy's arm, ready to drag him to the back office. But before he could take another step, the store door slammed open with a force that caught everyone off guard. Senator Thompson walked in, his face hard with anger, his presence immediately commanding the attention of everyone in the room. All eyes turned to him, and for a brief moment, the guard hesitated. The tension in the air was thick. What would happen next? Would the senator's arrival change anything, or would the guard continue his relentless pursuit of a boy he'd wrongfully accused? Senator Thompson's entrance was like a thunderclap in the tense silence of the store. His gaze swept across the room, landing on his son's trembling figure. Jumal's eyes were wide with both relief and fear, the weight of his father's gaze now mixed with the uncertainty of what would happen next. The guard, visibly shaken, took a step back, but his pride didn't let him retreat entirely. He stood tall, trying to hold on to his authority in front of the crowd. "What's going on here?" Senator Thompson demanded, his voice calm but laced with fury. His eyes locked onto the guard's, demanding an explanation. For a split second, the guard hesitated, looking like he might crumble under the pressure. But then his posture straightened. "This boy was caught trying to steal," he said, his voice strained, but still filled with accusation. Senator Thompson's chest tightened. "That's not true." "He's my son," he said, his voice gaining strength. He turned to Jamal, who was now struggling to hold back tears. But just as the situation seemed to be on the verge of a resolution, the store manager appeared, walking briskly toward the group with a serious expression. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, surveying the scene. The guard quickly shifted his stance, nodding eagerly as he turned toward the manager. "Yes, sir, this boy is trouble. I saw him trying to take something, and—" Before he could finish, the manager cut him off, his eyes narrowing. "Wait, there's something wrong with this footage." The crowd grew quiet. The tension ramped up as the manager pulled out his phone, showing a security video of the store's cameras. The footage revealed the shocking twist. It wasn't Jamal who had taken the toy car. It was another customer, a grown man who had slipped the item into his bag and walked out unnoticed while the guard was focused on Jamal. The truth hung in the air, and the guard's face turned pale as he realized the mistake he had made. But just as quickly, another unexpected twist emerged. Jamal's face, still red from the embarrassment, shifted into a look of pure determination. Was he about to speak out, or was there something more to this moment than anyone realized? The stakes had never been higher, and the store felt smaller with every passing second. The store manager's revelation hit like a bombshell. The guard, now visibly sweating, was speechless as the video clearly showed the real thief, an older man who had calmly walked out of the store with the toy car tucked away. The crowd murmured in disbelief, and Jamal's heart pounded as the weight of the moment started to sink in. His father's stern face softened just slightly, but the tension wasn't over yet. Senator Thompson turned to the guard, his voice low but sharp. "You made a mistake. You accused my son without cause, without even questioning the situation properly. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. The manager stood off to the side, still processing what had just unfolded. The guard stumbled over his words, clearly embarrassed. "Hi, I saw him near the toy section. I didn't mean." But Senator Thompson wasn't listening anymore. Your job is to observe, not to make assumptions. And this will have consequences. But just as it seemed like the guard might apologize or face some kind of reprimand, something unexpected happened. A man in the back of the store, who had been standing quietly through the whole ordeal, suddenly stepped forward. His face was stern, but there was a glint of recognition in his eyes. He made his way to the front, drawing attention as everyone wondered who he was. "I'm sorry, but I can't let this slide," the man said, his voice cutting through the tension. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a badge. "I'm Detective Harris. I've been investigating a series of thefts at this very store, and that man," he pointed at the older customer in the video, "is the thief I've been tracking for weeks." The real story here is that this incident, this mistake, wasn't just a random act. It's part of something much bigger. Everyone froze. Jumel, his father, the guard, and even the manager were stunned. The detective continued, his gaze shifting to Jamal. This was no accident. The boy's father, he nodded toward Senator Thompson, was about to be drawn into something far deeper than anyone knew. This whole situation was manipulated to distract from the real investigation. For a long moment, no one moved or spoke. The tension in the room was palpable as they all tried to process the detective's words. Jumal's father looked at him, a mix of concern and pride in his eyes. But the weight of what the detective had revealed loomed over them all, leaving a chilling sense of uncertainty hanging in the air. The guard, still reeling from the public humiliation, remained silent, while the manager nervously wiped his brow. Jumal, though still shaken, was beginning to understand the gravity of what had just unfolded. And as the detective stepped forward to explain more, it became clear. This wasn't just a story of a wrongful accusation. It was part of a larger game, one that was far from over. The detective's revelation set off a chain reaction, but in the end, the truth prevailed. The store's security footage, combined with the detective's investigation, revealed that Jamal had been nothing more than a victim of misplaced assumptions. The real thief was apprehended soon after, and the guard was placed on leave while an internal review took place. Jumal's father, Senator Thompson, made sure his son's name was cleared, but the experience left a lasting impact on both of them. The public backlash against the wrongful accusation created an opportunity for the senator to speak out about racial profiling and the importance of justice, regardless of one's background. As for Jamal, he found strength in the support of his father, the woman who had filmed the incident, and even the store manager, who publicly apologized. The ordeal was over, but the lessons remained. Injustice could happen anywhere, but standing up for what's right was always worth it.